Alright, well, here's a new location coming at you. We have Sportsland Sugo. I would at least assume it's pronounced Sugo. Because it's like Sugoi, which is Japanese for awesome. I don't know. Probably not. This is probably not what it's probably not what that name is supposed to mean anyway. I know that's what that means in Japanese, but I don't think that's what they got the inspiration for this name from. I think it's just like where it is in Japan. That's kind of how most things in Japan work. It's named after where it is. That's kind of what most things. That's actually how any racetrack works. I don't know what I'm talking about. But yes, this is a track basically built into a small hill or mound, or it's not a mountain, but it's also bigger than a hill. It's kind of weird. It's in Japan, as you can tell in the corner. And in this race, we are playing as Otto von Diesel. Got a couple of interesting drivers in attendance. 16 Angel starts in first. Here in sixth, we actually have Buttercup. I don't know why she's even here. Shouldn't she be with her sisters? Maybe they're just on the track. And down in 13th, we have Enduro, who's yet to actually appear in the series, despite how much I've talked about him. So I'm not terribly familiar with this. Ooh. That is not good, Otto. Case in point, I'm not terribly familiar with this track. Doesn't seem like the AI are either. They're going awfully slow, or at least that, or I'm going really fast. No, this one is just going really flippin' slow. But the road isn't wide enough to just get it right behind me immediately. I have to work for it, which isn't always good. I don't even know why I went to the inside. I didn't have a distant braking area. First impressions, this track is kind of weird. I've done it before, but it's been a while. The league race that I did it in was like closing in on a year ago or so, if not more than that. So it's not exactly fresh in my mind. We're also at such high altitude that we're literally getting fog at like 7 in the morning. This could just be straight up. This could straight up just be clouds too, which is just crazy to even think. The AI are not really fast through here. And it's kind of painful because it's like the #1 area where I can't do anything about it. Turn my lights off, I guess. Oh, you got such a terrible run out of that. Oh god. Maybe this track could be a little more standard fare once I get around these Sunday drivers that are in front of me. Hello? Nice, Needles. Hopefully you won't try to end my life, as that United back there just did. Disappointing that you've lost the lead. At least once it's to a new model, not to the like Z4 as is kind of her standard. But if it's, you know, a vehicle leading, it's either the Renault RS1, which it was before, or it's an older model like the SLS or the Z4 or the Aston Martin, which are from like 2013 and 2012 or so, somewhere in there. Clearly the challenge of this course presented mostly by the difficulty, or no, really. Difficulty is presented by the difficulty of it. Is that how that works? The narrow width of the track, which is an oxymoron in itself. Basically, it's not very wide, and that's why it's challenging to do. Yeah, now it feels a little more natural without the vehicular blockades in my path. Ah, this turn especially is just like, what the heck? It's like a bottleneck, almost, but it actually isn't. It just seems like it because how much sharper it gets at the end of the turn. I have to like keep a mental note in my head of what lettering and whatnot is on this card, because I keep getting it confused for the other McLaren liveries, which really don't look all that different to one another. There's a few that stand out, but like there's one that's totally exactly like this. The only difference is that that one's the number. Actually, yeah, no, that one's also 59. So the roto only difference is that is the lettering on the side of the car where it says chic and basic on it. Instead, that would say, I think it says McLaren on it, on the other one that isn't what Otto drives. And from the starting lineup screen, it's impossible to tell which one it is. My tablet charger cord out of the way. Reminds me of the Hungaroring, which is, well, in Budapest, Hungary, and the site of the Formula 1 Hungarian Grand Prix. However, because of how stingy F1 is on some of their licensing, it doesn't ever get appeared, and it doesn't ever really appear in many other games. A little bit unhappy there. So I guess the kind of elephant in the room here now, with the events of the first lap of the race. So what exactly has happened to Buttercup? Because the kind of search and rescue party plot, especially for a track like this, which is much less storied in Universe Zero than Barcelona was, which is part of the reason why I picked that track to be such a pivotal location. In the early going of the story, nice voice crack me. This is the first time the track has been used or even been seen in Universe Zero. And it's strange that Otto, of all characters, gets the opportunity to be played on first on it. The honor could definitely have gone to somebody a little more noteworthy, but I don't know. I hadn't driven as this car yet, and I wanted a vehicle that I could trust, because I didn't know if I could trust the track. McLaren is absolutely, like, has, like, slavish obedience. Outside of through that particular turn. But other than that, this thing does whatever the heck I want it to do, and does it without, you know, much backlash. Until I do that. It's a little weak in a straight line, but other than that's kind of that's an okay price to pay for basically being unable to mess it up, or to mess things up in it, unless you do something astronomically stupid, and then that's still not really the fault of the car. That's just the fault of you not knowing how to drive. We are now 10 minutes into the race. Should be around 3 in the afternoon. The race started at 5 in the morning. It requires steering. And you can tell it's definitely winter in-game, because 5 AM and the sun wasn't even visible yet. And it would only be 3:34. I'm messing up this corner again because I'm just very good at doing that. That corner gets really sharp for no apparent reason. Yeah, I'd be close to 3:45, 4 o'clock right now in game, and the sun is already beginning to go down. Let's probably finish braking. That would be a good idea. Yeah, right. And of course, as I'm in the middle of discussing that this vehicle does whatever I want it to, and then decide to forget how to do what I want to. And I just keep making stupid decisions while driving, and I end up almost going off the track multiple times in a single lap. Not great. It is now 5 PM and the lights are coming on because it's actually getting really dark already. As if I have to elaborate to you how winter works, right? So back to the question of Buttercup's condition, as it were. The crash is enough to ruin the car, but especially given how tough Buttercup is, I don't think that really messed up much more than her, much more than her pride, to be honest. She is the tough one, so being seated in a barrel-rolling sports car probably didn't hurt much. You have to figure when Bubbles was knocked out, she took like multiple impacts, not to mention at much higher speeds. The big wall hit came at like 90 miles an hour, and that vehicle that ran into her was probably also doing around that. And when she's nowhere near as tough or durable as Buttercup is, although most of the forms of media would have would have you think otherwise. Believe me, she's not as tough. Buttercup is literally referred to as the tough one. I don't really know how the games that the girls are in try to compete with that. You don't attribute that to anything more than just, you know, personality. Referring to their licensed games, where the three of them usually are just like reskins with like slightly different skills. The only game that does not do this is Him and Seek for the GBA, in which Buttercup actually punches harder but moves slower. Blossom's in the middle of that spectrum, and Bubbles moves quicker than the other two but doesn't punch as hard. I just always used Blossom in most of those games, as long as I could, because I'm biased, but... Being the well-rounded option does not hurt when it comes to making that decision. The only time I don't automatically default to her is the Punch Them Explosion, their Cartoon Network's like Smash Brothers ripoff, where Buttercup is my preferred choice. Because she reminds me of something like a Street Fighter character. She's like Liu Kang's bicycle kick, and like Ryu and Ken's Hadouken and Shoryuken. Before Smash 4 was ever a thing and Ryu was playable in like 2015-ish. In 2011, you could basically play a Liu Kang Ryu combination, but looking much cuter than either one. So why wouldn't you do that, being a fighting game person at all? Yes, I think it's just better to enjoy the shock value, because I'm pretty sure Buttercup climbed out of that car perfectly fine. Hence why the car is off the track. She got out of it on her own power, not being lifted from it like Bubbles was after Gearhead finished his race. Maybe we've just gotten the rhythm of the track down, but I'm driving a lot better at night here than I was in the sunlight for the very brief period of time that I was even here. 10 minutes out of the 25 or so minute race. Now, if I were to choose to play as the henchman, or yeah, the henchman. There aren't many McLarens. It's the henchman, Otto, Tyler, or Dexter on McLarens. But if I used the henchman at Sakito, which discounts Suzuka because Suzuka's licensing was weird and only gives it to other Japanese games, or F1, usually. They're not quite as open doors as Laguna Seca is, for example, which has been in like basically every racing game to ever exist ever. They're still up there. They used to be really up there as far as like who could or couldn't use it. And admittedly, I don't even really know why they denied this game. And it's kind of upsetting because Suzuka is actually my favorite track. But Sakito is just way too narrow to really emulate the feel of it. That's a curb. Let's not hit those. As I hit another curb, and another one. I mean, you really can't avoid this outside one unless you're doing like 50 through the turn. You just simply cannot. I don't care what you try and tell me, you can't avoid all three of those curbs. I meant to hit that one. Rotated the car. Did not mean to hit that one. Can I avoid... Oh, actually, it did avoid a curb. I was about to ask, can I avoid a curb? I'd like to imagine this one wouldn't be fun to hit. Or the one on the outside. So I'm gonna not do that. I think it'll be coming to 5 laps here. There are 5 laps remaining in this one. I took that way slower than I had any reason to. Yeah, I feel like you have to hit that curb. The corner just gets too tight to completely avoid it at any kind of good speed. Yeah, now we're coming to 4 laps to go. If this thing downshifts while you're not on the throttle, it kind of makes like almost like a sneezing noise, I notice. It's like it's almost like sniffling or something. I've missed! I was looking at other things and not on the roads. I was looking at the relative leaderboard down there. Apparently I'm getting close to 13th. So much so that I'm closer to them than I am to 5th place. Or rather, I'm closer to them than 5th place is close to me. So it's an obscene amount of runoff area out there. I almost stayed off of it. Almost. That's not even a downshift noise. I'm hearing that again. That's just coming from when I let off the gas. Like that. It's like something like it has to like sniff out of its nose or something. Oh, those curbs are brutal. Ow, let's not hit those again. Oh, I did it. I avoided the stupid curb out there. Finally. It took 15 laps. Or more. I'm trying way too hard to avoid the outside curb, so instead just hit the inside one. Didn't really get me anywhere, did it? Tell me that's just me being weird, right? It sounds like someone like sniffing out of their nose. Like like they have a cold or something. I'm probably just sound crazy right now, I'm well aware. And that's the end of the race. I actually wasn't paying much attention to the clock, and I didn't realize the race was gonna be over at the end of that lap. It's the morning fog again. As far as I didn't catch the other cars, considering how much the AI slowed down on the cooldown laps. Well, that was a little bit dominant. Let's see just how much. 15.5 seconds, and 16 Angels faltered and towards the end. Duro made it up a couple of places, and then, yeah. The front end of the McLaren is so low to the ground. So that'll be it for this pretty dominant episode of Time Loop. Otto's methods of getting to that point were a little interesting, to say the least, but you know, just kind of how that goes. Like, Otto is a villain still in this timeline, and it's not like it isn't like the normal universe where he's now suddenly like, oh, by the way, the guy I was trying to delete from existence, that's kind of a villain. You know, plot twist and all of that. Maybe as a villain you might have tried to tell someone that. But again, I guess if he also were seen as a villain, nobody would believe him, so just kind of awkward.